Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this session. As Ben already said, my name is Dennis Olsen. I'm a professor of strategic communications and media cultures at the University of West London, and I led the Impact in Place project exploring how arts and humanities perspective can strengthen local policymaking in London. I want to use the 10 minutes to share what we learned about the current evidence landscape, what we uncovered through our mapping and co-creation work with one of the councils in London, and what this means for London boroughs who want to make a more holistic approach to aging in the years ahead. Oh, I need to. So this project sets out to answer a simple question with complicated implications. What would local aging policy look like if it truly recognized the cultural, emotional, and experiential realities of growing older in London? As we explored this question, we found some encouraging conditions already in place. There is clear appetite amongst council officers for richer evidence, strong interests from academics in contributing to policy work, and existing relationships that can be built on. At the same time, some key elements are not yet visible in existing policy, and this is exactly where arts and humanities approaches can add real value. So, setting the scene why this actually matters. Across the UK, demographic and social trends mean local authorities will be engaged with aging as a core priority for decades to come. By 2040, nearly 1 in 7 people is projected to be over the age of 75, and the number of centenarians has doubled in the last 2 decades. What age means, however, is not a fixed category. It cuts through across health, mobility, culture, digital inclusion, belonging, safety, family life, and personal identity. Aging is, in fact, one of the most cross-priority policy issues we have because every member of the community will experience it. At the same time, older residents face persistent challenges: social isolation, digital exclusion, negative stereotypes. Many also live at the intersection of multiple inequalities shaped by gender, race, class, disability, or a migration history. And this complexity is precisely why arts and humanities research matters. It provides the tools to think about aging not only as something that happens to the body, but as something that is shaped by culture and lived experiences. These are shared aspects of aging that matters in people's life, but are often hard to capture through traditional evidence routes. To understand how London currently approaches aging, part of our project was to manually search council repository and send inquiries asking council to share documents they consider relevant to older residents. We received 21 responses, and the pattern was unmistakable. Only 8 boroughs shared a dedicated aging or aging well strategy. Most shared health and well-being strategies or social care plans. None shared a cultural policy as being relevant to aging. This does not imply that councils do not care about cultural identity. Instead, it shows that aging is still most readily associated with medical or service-based needs rather than with cultural life, public space, digital engagement, or community identity. To explore this in more detail, we reviewed a wide range of documents from 6 West London councils, alongside 2 additional boroughs that were flagged up during our inquiries as potential examples of good practice. Our evidence gap map allowed us to track which kinds of evidence each policy used and how explicitly arts and humanities research was included. And a consistent pattern basically emerged. Social sciences and community engagement were common. Medical evidence was strong across all aging-related strategies. Arts and humanities research was rarely cited, especially when it comes to aging. And while principles were sometimes present, they were almost always only implicit. In other words, councils are already doing work that resonates with arts and humanities research and frameworks, but this work is not translated into the language of evidence-based policymaking. It remains unlabeled, unreferenced, and therefore strategically underutilized. The contrast with Lambeth and Hackney was particularly insightful. Both boroughs had aging strategies where cultural, narrative, and intersectional insight were clearly named and used to frame the entire approach. Their documents showed what it looked like when arts and humanities evidence sits alongside medical and social data as a recognized source of insight. Based on this analysis, our project engaged with 4 key arts and humanities frameworks that proved particularly helpful in the best practice cases. Those were narrative identity theory, which reminds us every older person carries a lifelong story that shapes how they interpret aging. Intersectionality, which helps policymakers understand overlapping inequalities that shape later life, and a combined lens of drawing on critical discourse analysis and cultural deontology, which helps us examine how language, imagery, and cultural representation shape assumptions about aging, and how more positive, realistic portrayals can support more inclusive design policy. These approaches do not replace existing evidence, and they complement it. They make policy more human, more context aware, and more aligned with how older residents understand their own lives. Our consultation with colleagues at Ealing Council, which we used for our case study, and who work directly in policy design, service development, research and insight, they subsequently helped us understand how evidence is used in practice inside local policy-making processes. They highlighted that quantitative, that's number-driven data, tends to carry more political weight, even though qualitative insight is equally valuable. Evidence practices vary across teams, so some forms of research can get lost depending on who's writing the policy. And officers want more culturally informed insight, but need simple, low-burden routes in order to find and use it. And this set the stage for our co-creation workshop as part of the project. We brought together council officers, academics, and knowledge exchange professionals. Using a variety of creative exercises, we then explored how arts and humanities approaches could meaningfully shape policy. And three insights for us particularly stood out. Insight number one is that digital exclusion is not mainly about age. Participants recognized that digital exclusion in later life stems from accumulated inequalities across a lifetime, not from age alone. This highlighted the need for more narrative and intersectional approaches to understanding digital life. The second insight was that creative methods can reduce consultation fatigue. Older residents often contribute to many consultations, but do not always feel understood, get frustrated, and withdraw from those consultations. Arts-based methods like storytelling, visual prompts, or photo voice offer richer and more engaging ways of gathering and understanding insights delivered by older people. And insight three, some arts and humanities ideas translate better into policy practice than others. Officers found intersectionality the most immediately useful framework because it helped them recognize overlapping inequalities in later life. Arts-based methods resonated strongly as well as a way to deepen engagement and reduce consultation fatigue. The lens around cultural deontology was valued for its potential to analyze language and representation, but officers felt very much like this would require additional support, for example, through a university to apply it in practice. These insights helped us identify where change is most feasible and where universities can play the strongest supporting role. In the final stage of our workshop, we explored potential council-university collaboration mechanisms. Through a structured voting process, four clear favorites emerged. The first one is a council-university alignment forum, so short, for example, quarterly meetings where councils and university partners share priorities, upcoming timelines, and opportunities to support each other. An evidence request service, a rapid response route for council officers to request short research summaries that directly support policy development. An optimized research bank, an accessible collection of policy-relevant studies, case examples, and good practices, making it easier for council officers to draw on a wider range of evidence. And lastly, joint funding applications, collaborative bids that revolve around council priorities, bring in additional resources and expertise while building shared ownership of projects. These ideas all share a common theme, and that's they are simple, low-burden routes to high-value evidence. And this basically leads me to the two takeaways from our project, as well as our core output. Takeaway number one is arts and humanities research, as it stands at the moment, is an essential missing dimension of local policy concerning aging citizens. It brings to the forefront the cultural narrative and experiential realities that shape later life, complementing existing biomedical and social evidence. Without it, we overlook much of what aging actually feels for the residents. Takeaway two is London already has the partners, structures, and appetite to close this gap. Councils want richer insight, universities want to contribute, And low barrier mechanisms like an evidence request service or research bank can make these collaborations efficient and sustainable. Our project is showing how to bridge this gap, and our team produced a practical toolkit that sets out clear step-by-step guidance for how councils and universities can work together with minimal burden. As part of this, we outlined how to create an evidence gap map as a starting point for any policy area, provide an engagement protocol that shows how effective collaboration can be structured between a university and a council, and offer a policy brief that helps communicate the value of this approach to senior stakeholders. These partnership mechanisms are not only relevant to aging, they are readily transferable to other policy areas, with our research especially identifying policies around and strategies around pride in place, digital inclusion, arts and cultures, and youth and education. And I think that's my 10 minutes. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.